the Nick DeVries is Albon is not the one that is in jeopardy of losing his job. But first of all, good morning, everybody. As you know, we're sitting here. We're all kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with this race at the point in time right now. As you see, the board is at yellow flag. The race has been on all full out wet. It has been a downpour. We do not know if this race is going to give us a similar kick in the ass like Spa did in 2021. But first, I want to say big shout out to all the breast cancer survivors, period. If you're battling cancer, you're a survivor of cancer, or you're a family member or friend who has lost a loved one while battling the cancer, big shout out to you all. Positive energy to everybody. Condolences, rest in peace to those who have passed. I will be wearing pink of some sort all month with that respect in mind. Like I said, I have a grandmother who is a breast cancer survivor. I also have family members that are not survivors of cancer, different types. Shout out Chadwick Boseman. As you know, I had the piece made for him and Lewis Hamilton. And I also will be wearing purple throughout the month to support domestic awareness, abuse, being aware of that. Sometimes you might have somebody out there you need to talk to. Sometimes people don't know how to tell if they're going through these experiences because they're afraid of how not only they will look, but what will be the outcome. And there's not enough support for that. So I'm big on that. So I don't know what's going to go on with this race. What's up, everybody? I do know that it would be unfortunate if we have another Spa reemergence of not completing a race, not even doing a race, doing one lap. But I would like to see if people are going to keep the same energy. If it does happen to go a lap or two, Max Verstappen does not have the time for that RB18 rocket ship to carry him to the front of the grid in the top three. Big shout out to Messica. What's going on? Sorry, I've been MIA. I was out trying to figure out the Aston Martin spent their money on. Messica, hey, I tell y'all all the time. By the way, I did have my French toast, so I'm going to give Messica the French toast emoji. Big ups, bro. I know I'm trying to figure it out too, bro. I'm trying to figure it out too. Where did they spend this money, Messica? Where did they spend the money? Because it's not showing on track. That is for sure. Not showing on track. Do not forget when we do the Singapore finale lap, pay attention to that trailer. Those proceeds will be going to the young one, Joshua Gamby, on the finale lap episode. But Mesker, I feel you, bro. I don't know what's going on. I don't know where they could have spent this money. I do know that I'm not very confident of what may be happening to Red Bull or Aston Martin, given that these, especially Red Bull, given that these speculations are the review of the documentation for the financial board are found out that Red Bull indeed did breach the financial situation. I'm not even confident that they're going to hand down the penalty that they should. We saw several times penalties handed to Max, and this is just facts, where really it did not affect the outcome, right? Penalties that they should have enforced right then and there for that GP, trying to delay it for the next GP where it doesn't affect the outcome. And I don't have any confidence in the FIA when it comes to many levels of different things. I wish they would do a better job with that. I mean, even from how much of a conflict of interest is it if you develop a certain test with a competing team and the organization, the authorities develop a test together to test another competitor's car? That itself is something that's asinine, right? That's not something that should be allowed to happen. Like, you shouldn't be able to input upon a standard test that's going to be used to test an opponent's car. That's a conflict of interest. There are several other things that they have done that, Liberty Media, FOM, FIA, all of that. But let's also look at, let's check this out too. Now, I know a lot of people were harping on when Lewis Hamilton, of all people, dropped some F-bombs, right? But then here it is. We got Why? And people not even keeping the same energy about this. Like nobody
What are you
keeping
guys
the same
saying?
energy. Like it
Unbelievable,
was a
mate.
lot of people so
I don't
quick
get it. What the
to
is this about?
criticize Lewis Hamilton
We'll
and
talk
say
about
that
it
he's
and
I'll
not a
explain
good guy, he's
once
not
you're
the
up.
guy y'all thought, he's not all of that. But meanwhile, I didn't see these same people coming out in a plethora of numbers when Max dropped like ×6 the F-bombs on his team and then went into a post conference and tossed them right up under the bus. All I'm just asking, keep the same energy. Don't come with the fugaziness. A Condu. Let's go, Lewis French toast, and looking forward to popping bottles and getting the win on podium. Man, a Condu, I'm trying to tell you, I'm trying to see if this is gonna happen. We're gonna get some French toast. I got the bottle on chill. It's on chill and ready, and we got 5 other members that also have bottles on chill and ready to go if that's gonna happen. Looking for that, and also let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this real quick. Okay, so this is something I was disappointed with last time. I felt that in Spa, they could have allowed the cars to race on the extreme wets. I mean, why do you have tools in your arsenal you're not going to use them? And I'm going to put a poll in the chat. Don't dance on it, just vote on it. The safety car is out right now, testing the track again. I think they should let them use the extreme wets to start the race. That's what they got them for. Like this is kind of getting on some soft stuff. You know how like the NFL, like they got all these ways that the defender can't hit the offensive player, can't tackle the quarterback. Like there's so many things that are developing in Formula One that are kind of reminiscence of that. It's kind of killing the sport. Like back in the day, they would have put them out there on the track and they didn't even have the technology. They didn't have the tire compounds. They didn't have any of this stuff to where these cars would have been allowed to, these drivers would have been allowed to go out and race that they have now, but yet they don't let them employ these tools and the technology. Yo, put these cars out on extreme wets and let's go. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? Let's go ahead and get it done. Now, I'm not saying like it's a dangerous sport already, so I'm not finna go into the fact that I'm not wanting to see somebody endanger their life, but you're in a dangerous sport, right? This is like what your team should be prepared to handle. What Pirelli has given you tires in order to handle. I don't want to see a race like this track right here, and then they talking about they're delaying, or they're going to end up calling it off. Yo, I had already said in qualifying that we likely would see a situation or conditions like we saw there. All right, so I kind of want to let's get this show on the road type situation. Now let's take a look at this. We know Russell right now is going to be starting from pit lane. And because they went ahead during Parc Ferme and they went ahead and upgraded the PU. Okay. So he's going to be starting from pit lane. So we'll take a look at the things he had replaced. So this is his 4th ICE. It's his 4th TC turbocharger. It's his 4th motor generator unit, both heat and kinetic. It is his 3rd energy storage and his 3rd control electronics. Okay. So if you don't know, basically for the top 3, which I would say all the way down to the turbocharger, you're only allowed to go 3. Once you go over 3, you're in a penalty, which is why Russell sits right here. And we went over this the other day where I showed you all the PU chart, and that was prior to Russell taking these penalties. If I'm not mistaken, I may still have that available. Yeah, here it is right here. So if you see at first, I didn't have Russell highlighted because he was right there at the limit. The limit was 3, and Russell was right there at the limit. But now Russell will now be over ICE, TC, MGUH, and K, and energy stores. Now, energy stores and you don't get as many as the other. You only get 2 of those. So he was at the limit throughout, except for exhaust. You get eight exhaust, right? So that's where he was. He's at the limit over everything except for the exhaust. He's 5 off from being over on that. I didn't include the RCNs. So that is where we sit right now with that situation. So yeah, he's gonna end up starting from the pit lane, not back of the grid. So that is where Russell will be starting today. And I think I'm a little bit it's a little bit questionable to if this is going to ruin his consistent top 5 finish throughout the season. The only race he didn't finish top 5 in was when he DNF'd at the home race, which was Silverstone. He didn't have he didn't finish, so he didn't get top five. But every race that Russell has brought across the finish line, he's finished top five, and that is an outstanding, awesome, I think, accomplishment for Russell coming into Mercedes, without a doubt. And still learning a lot from Lewis Hamilton. Yeah, maybe I put that French toast up. I got it. I had went ahead and took that in. So yeah, got the French toast. So that's what we got with Russell. So right now we're just kind of waiting to see what they're gonna do, how this is gonna play out. They're all sitting around, safety cars making laps. Of course, they're. If you saw yesterday qualifying Q3 especially, we already saw some of the troubles that cars were having while the track wasn't even this wet. And like I said, this was going to be a situation that I thought could come to fruition today, and it has. Now, this is another thing that's going to shake up the grid because you got Max in a rocket ship, a RB18 that is well capable of carrying them to the front. Like everybody was on that situation about 2.7 seconds. That's great, but that should also tell you something, right? 2.7 seconds, like that should tell you that if you have the notion or you have the delusional perspective that you only wanted to credit Lewis Hamilton for all the championships that he's won due to him having a fast car, you can only do that now with Max Verstappen. And that's why you're seeing a subtle quietness across delusional Max Verstappen fans starting to be a little bit more quiet when it comes to things, because even them theirself, except for the astounding delusional ones, don't want to admit the fact that, damn, I tried to throw shade on Lewis Hamilton about all the championships he's won, all 7 championships. Some people say damn near 8, it only being a fast car. Well, it is clearly obvious that Red Bull, the RB18, at least for Max Verstappen, is the fastest car on the grid. So now you got to keep the same energy. You got to say it's not your driver. Your driver's not that great. It's just that he has a fast car. And that's it. If that was your standpoint, then you must still take that standpoint now. If you can't do that, then you're not real about it. You fake as hell. You're fake. You really show you don't have no integrity, and you clearly cannot be objective. That is not my stand on it, right? I said my stand on it. But I'm just saying, keep the same energy as anything else. Don't try to switch up. Don't try to make concessions. Don't give out the double standards. Straight up. But yeah, we know Max has an RB18, a fast car that can carry him to the top of the grid. We've seen it before. We know that it's factual that the RB18 throughout most of the tracks has been the fastest car, still is the fastest car now. But we've seen Max love to hit walls. We've seen him spin out plenty of times. And I would also say that in an attribute of seeing Lewis Hamilton control a car that is out of control, aside from Max having the 360 spin, but sometimes that can land on a dime dog's ass sometimes. We've seen Lewis Hamilton save a car from literally going to spin out by being able to manipulate and control it in a power slide. I'm just saying, and people trying to misquote me, I didn't say that Max wasn't good in wet conditions. I said he wasn't better than Lewis Hamilton in wet conditions. That's what I said. That's what I said. I believe equal machinery, standard like NASCAR standards, like boom. I do not still believe that Max Verstappen is a better driver than Lewis Hamilton. I think it's prematurely being credited to him for that. I don't think that. And you definitely can't say that if you took the standpoint that Lewis Hamilton's success was only because he had a fast car. And now that Max won, we know last season that shit was not valid, but now he has the fastest car and you don't want to say the same thing. So, no, I also did not say that Max wasn't talented. Max is a talented driver. You have to have some sort of level of talent to be in Formula One, right? We're not finna sit here and play this game like that's not the case. So let's also take a look at this. Naomi did a piece with Lewis Hamilton, gave some tidbits about it. And if you're not familiar.
Exactly. I hope we'll find out a little bit more about him. I think he's talking really about the nitty-gritty of his heritage, where he exactly came from, what his culture and his roots stem from.
So this is some of the things that they were talking about, and Lewis Hamilton coming from um, a biracial background people. One thing you need to understand, Lewis Hamilton is black. He's black. And you want to know how you can tell that even the world perceives him as black? Look at how the general Look at how some of you in this comment section that will watch this video treat Lewis Hamilton. Look at if Lewis Hamilton wasn't black, right? If Lewis Hamilton wasn't black, why would somebody make an image like this and put Lewis Hamilton's face on a black man while dying in the streets because a police officer has his knee on his neck, choking him out, literally with a small smirk on his face? Public lynching. Why would somebody do that? Why would somebody do that? This is why I'm telling you, respect somebody and how they want to identify, right? And it seems like the respect identification is upheld in standards and in areas aside from when it comes to black excellence or greatness, right? Because Lewis Hamilton is great and people either regard him as the great or recognize him as the great and don't want to admit it, so they throw at hate and shade. They also would like to try to remove that blackness from Lewis Hamilton so that other people that look like him cannot associate themselves with something great. That in itself is a very, very toxic characteristic, and it is damn outright racist. Okay. Lewis Hamilton is a black man. He identifies as a black man. His father is black. We all know his mother is white. Um, do your research on several other things. Let's not play any games about that. And we all know that since Lewis Hamilton was a young kid coming on the grid, he was attacked with racism. So, like I said, they are doing a heritage piece. Lewis Hamilton, of course, is speaking up for that. Who else would they have for the Black History Month? Which it shouldn't be just a month, but he also talked to the point that he was researching his background and found out plenty that his name came from a slave ownership. Family owned a slave, so yeah, that was a common thing for if you were a slave, you took the last name of your slave master, and therefore is actually a situation that exists even now. You go back and trace your name, especially if you're black, African descent, you'll find that your last name is not, in fact, a last name that is from your origin of descent. It will have been a last name that started from slavery. And so that is something that he was going to do. And he spoke to his trip to Africa. And I think a lot of people jumped on Lewis Hamilton in the wrong way. And I think they took it the wrong way, that Lewis Hamilton went to Africa and talked about the very rare, very raw, like none of the technology. He didn't want to go to the richest parts. He didn't want to go to the wealthy parts. He wanted to go from where his family stemmed from. He wanted to go to the tribal parts and see how his people were living with little or nothing, and he speaks to that. And people want to blast Lewis Hamilton because he didn't talk about Africa having the technology they do, because they do, because Africa having some of the wonderful buildings that they do, because they do, because Africa having some of the most wonderful people, food, and culture, because they do. I mean, Africa is the richest continent when it comes to natural minerals in the ground in historically, period, which is why it has been robbed and pillaged so damn much, not only from the minerals in the ground, but to the people walking on the ground. So I don't think people should have been blasting him for that. He went to experience something that he spoke to something he actually experienced, and people wanted him to campaign for something just that should already be known. I mean, it's just I credit Lewis Hamilton for that. Is something that people are going to try to take stones and pokes at anything you do. All right, anything you do, and so he's alone when it comes to being identifying of anybody on the grid. That's a hard battle to fight. If any of you have come up through grade school, which many of us have, I know I got 2 degrees. Some people went to college. I literally have a kid I'm mentoring right now. He's in college and he literally has 5 classes where he goes and he's literally the only black person in the class. Literally, out of 25 to 40 students in a class, he has 5 classes that he goes to where literally he is the only black person in the class. So when you get that feeling, then imagine if you've ever been in that setting. It initially can make you feel uncomfortable until and if, like me, I have the characteristics that I'm not worried about color first. I'm worried about character. But it still is something to be said if you're sitting and you don't have a direct identification. But this is where you have to get up and know people. This is where we have to reach out to each other and shake each other's hands, say hello, look at the next person, say how you doing, speak to each other. Character over color is what I say. And that's a big fact, but some people don't see it like that. So that's why we build a different channel here. We're gonna talk about all types of different things because all of these things are involved in Formula One. But right now it looks like Charles is getting in his car. We may be getting ready to probably kick something off. I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be more like a test lap. They're going to go out, see how things go. Somebody just looked like they almost bust their ass running through the paddock. I'm glad he didn't. But we're going to get to see how this is going to go and see if this race is really going to actually take off. Um, that's what we're looking for. But yeah, I mean, Russell's starting from pit lane. I'm a little bit in fear that I'm not in fear of it. I think that this is going to, disturb his consistent finish, and we'll see what happens from there. We already took a look at some of the Singapore upgrades. Also, you will see that Aston Martin, let me see if I got it. That's the reprofiling of the fence. But Aston Martin has actually brought back the high downforce wing that was very controversial earlier this season when they first came out with it. And now that we and I told you when it happened that don't be surprised when they started looking at things that they were going to ban. They immediately went to Mercedes and look and already started, a ban on certain things that would happen in the future for them. But I told you that two other things that probably would be in fear of being banned and should be is the Aston Martin wing, and there was something else that probably that I said that probably should have been up there on the docket for that. But definitely the Aston Martin wing I felt was going to make that book where they were going to be like, yeah, we got to look at this. This is probably not something that we can allow in the future. But it was very nifty. I like what they did. I like how they tried to innovate something that was within the guidelines in which it was structured or how it's written out, but yet still incorporate something that Formula One wanted to rid itself of, which was the rear wing end plate. And the way they formed and constructed this wing, it was legal, but it had an end plate structure on it that gives them certain benefits, but it hasn't shown, right? It has not shown. Thank you, Galacticus. Race is delayed 1 hour. So, with that also being the case, let me go in here and I will change our time for the next for finale lap. I will also change the time for our after party for post the Singapore race. I will knock those back an hour. This is why we have family. They get in here and make sure they put some information in it. It also helps me out so I can go ahead and change these things on the fly. So I'm going to go ahead and change our live for finale lap, push that back an entire hour. I will also push back the Wolves Den after party back an entire hour. And that is where we will sit. Maybe some of you thought this was going to be a good early day. We was going to get a race in, get a finale lap in, and we was going to be off. Well, Formula One says not so much. So 10:45 on that because we might be starting at the 9. We'll push that back an hour, save that, and then get out of here on that. And then also I will go and change the Zoom meeting up for that. I think I got it for 11:30. We could just keep the Zoom meeting the same because we'll just go in right when it's time and we'll change that up. UK time starts at 14:05. Appreciate that, Mimi. Thank you. Mimi's pretty good with her updates. But yeah, this wing is you're not going to see it next year. They're going to allow them to run this rear wing setup for the remainder of this season. And then next season, they will likely have to go ahead and get rid of this and just put it somewhere in the storage. Just put it back until maybe it might be a possible chance that they can come out with it in the following years, depending on how the regulations go. But if not, it's a done deal. They're gonna have to go ahead and put that down. So a lot of people, I think, Lewis Hamilton has a very good chance of winning this race, given that they don't have an incident. He doesn't come off track. There's no DNF. There are a lot of things that can happen in Formula One where this race might not go the way you think it's going to go. It could go a totally different way. And I'm not opposed to that. Like, I'm excited just to watch racing, period. I like competitive damn environments. And it's going to be cool either way it goes. But I did forecast and say that I thought Singapore was going to be the track that Lewis Hamilton would get his win, and I still believe that even more so now than before. All right, just with his talent and his ability. Something else that we could look for is Alpine has definitely done some things to their floor. And that is the big game right now. The big game is trying to direct this airflow through these ground effects to maximize performance out of these cars. That has been the struggle all year. Another area of focus, still dealing with airflow, would also be the beam wings. Whereas we saw Red Bull, that was the other one. Red Bull, and I was saying that I didn't think that it should be banned. But basically, the way the beam wings were set up for this year, it was still two components, but they were aligned and set up so that they really acted as one. Red Bull decided to reconfigure their components where they had two different stages of beam wings. And that was something else that I don't know if you could call it controversial, but it was something else that piqued a lot of interest. And I also said that I didn't think that that should be banned. I thought that that in itself, they didn't reconstruct the actual surface to be blended or do something else. They didn't add an extra element. They still had two separate elements. The only thing they did was took them and stacked them so that those two elements probably would carry more of their characteristics of being separated than together. And I didn't think that that should be something that should be banned, nor even looked at to potentially be banned. I thought Red Bull just did a wonderful job at taking what was there and just setting it up different, not reconfiguring it. Where, as you have Aston Martin, they really reconfigured the way the wing even looks. Like this wing looks nothing like the other wings. This one was like totally independent to itself when it first came out. Alfa Romeo came out with one that definitely had a nice little unique look, and I'm just talking about aesthetics. I don't think it gave them an additional amount of performance that they were looking for. It would seem that Alpine actually might be on deck to have some updates that may indeed reveal themselves as upgrades, but I don't know if it's gonna work in the race, right? I mean, we've heard a lot of talk about Alpine since when, like, was it Canada? About their straight line speed, and where have they really been? I don't know. So that just goes to show a lot of things that you could change, and you might show numbers as to what things should be, and then you get in an actual real race situation, and it's just not what you thought it was gonna be. It's totally damn different. So these are some of the things I just wanted to get on to holler at you all about. I don't know if this race is gonna end up being canceled. It's pushed back an hour. And from that hour, then we'll see what happens. This is starting to look more and more like Spa than I would like, honestly. And this is not what I expected to be doing at 8:21 US time. I expected that we would be well into the race by now, trying to see if, Lewis would bump up to first, or if Max would come through the grid like a fireball bat out of hell, because that RB18 is fast, and make it to the top. But we're not. We're sitting here questioning ourselves if we're even going to have a race, um, and that, like, looking kind of like it's still a concern, right? So we'll see what happens with that. Trevor, press the symbol next to where you write up messages. Okay, appreciate that, Mary Bean. Appreciate everybody lending us support in the chat. Also, big shout out to all the family members we have. I will tell you right now. Let me see what we got right here. Let's vote on this. Now I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna ask you the question because I said what I think. All right, here we go. We got drivers in the car, just sitting at least in the car. We'll see what they end up doing. But yeah, let me ask you all this. Poll in the chat. Don't dance on it. Just vote on it. Who do you think is better in the wet conditions, Lewis or Max? So yeah, they're still just kind of sitting around. Ain't nothing really going on right now. Hopefully, we see something soon. Let's see what you all say on that chat. Let's see what you all say on that poll. It's the plus symbol. Trying to see what we got going on, Mary. What's happening there? We'll begin in about 45 minutes. Russell starting from pit. Yeah, Brazil show. Russell is starting from pit lane. Trevor Robinson, what's up? There you go. 4 months in the game. Gold status. That's his name. I see you. I see you, Trevor. I see you. Facts, Mary. Lewis is to me the master in the wets. Crofty gave a long explanation according to the article 6.8. I'm telling you, Mimi be on it. Mimi come with some references. Believe that. Mimi, Mesker, oh yeah, Jessica J. Starship. She be coming with some things in here too. Of course, y'all know my brother Bryson come with some of that fire. Uh yes, Lewis Drift King. Facts. So I don't know, but we'll see what happens. I do like this track. I do like the night race here. So I'm a little disappointed. And that's another thing we got to think about. It's well into about to be like that temperature is not going to be what it should have been had this stopped earlier in the day. I mean, it's night, the sun is down. They're not going to get the drying rate they would have, but these cars are about to go out on track. We're going to see what they end up doing. See how they end up coming around. Of course, they're gonna make a judgment on that. So don't forget, we will be here live after the race. After the race, we'll be here live, and we gonna wetmaster. Don't sound good. Try flip that. Oh yeah, I guess. Yeah, so we'll see. Yeah, I do. Brazil show. I like Singapore under the lights too. By the way, like I said, I'm gonna be wearing pink all month for breast cancer or cancer awareness period. Breast cancer is not the only thing that have taken a lot of loved ones from us, that have given us our loved ones issues. We got pancreatic cancer, colon cancer, breast cancer. We got all types of cancer. Cancer seems to be at like a all time, like just a high rate. I'm not gonna say all time because I don't know the exact numbers, but it seems to be at a high rate. I lost several people, whether friends or associates of people, due to cancer. I just had a very close friend lose her father this week due to cancer. So it's a very unfortunate situation. Um, my wife just attended a funeral yesterday, due to somebody losing their life to cancer. This is crazy. It's really crazy. So I'm gonna be wearing pink and some variation all month. I don't care. I wash these shirts, get them all made. I don't give a damn. I'm gonna be representing all month. Also, let me see when the tenth is, because that will be the anniversary. All right, so the 10th is a Monday, so you all probably will not have to worry about seeing from me on a Monday. That is the anniversary that my sister was murdered due to a domestic violence situation. So I might not be on then, depending on how I'm feeling. I could be in my feelings. You know what I'm saying? It's just when you have a sibling that's taken from you in a very horrific way, and then you go through a whole situation that, you might not be wanting to talk to many people that day. Kind of just want to be to yourself. But I'm gonna see where I am. I still might come on that day and advocate for the fight against domestic abuse and domestic situations altogether. Welcome to the family, Corey A. White. What's going on? What's up? I see Corey A. White. I see, no, you not new. You got the Patronus label, Corey. You got the Patronus label. You were like a month in, bro. So yeah, so we'll see what y'all say. We're gonna be back here live post the race. I appreciate everybody joining the family. I'm gonna tell you right now, I can tell you how many family members we actually have, and we've done a pretty good damn job at growing, in my opinion. And I think it's great, and we're consistently still growing as a family. So if you are a family member, remember the Zoom link is in the members chat section only. Do not share that. Members only are allowed there. So enjoy that. I will see you there. That's where you get to say things that you want to say. So we are at 73 members. All right, 73 total members. As far as active members, we are still at 73 active members. We had a small little dip from 75 to 73. Two members fell off, but that could be for any reason. Sometimes members have an issue with their card and then it doesn't renew. But don't fret if that situation happens to you when you log back on to sign back up for your membership. It does keep track of where you were, so you won't lose your level of membership. It will come back with you. Ernie Simmons, looking forward to this race. Ham possible win. Ernie, I'm trying to tell you, I'm a French toast dad. That is true. That is true. So, all right, I'm gonna get with y'all. Finale lap. We still gonna have that post this race. I'm still gonna even come on finale lap. Let's say they cancel this race. I still will be live here for finale lap, and we will talk about things that happen and how we all feel about it. It will be short, but then we will go right into the Zoom meet so that the Wolfpack family members can get a lot of shit off their chest then. So I will see you after the race. Appreciate everybody being here. Hopefully, this race is not rained out. That would suck. All right.